What's up, guys? Welcome to the Montyverse.
We saw Top Gun 2, Maverick, Goose to the Deuce, and we have some thoughts.
Want to hear them? You better wait until after the jump, and we'll give them to you. So yeah, we saw Top Gun 2, Maverick, Goose to the Deuce this weekend. We both just happened to see it on the same exact day, at the same exact time almost.
Yep.
So we decided to come in here and talk about it. Zack, why don't you say your general thoughts on the film, and then I'll give my general thoughts, and then we'll go into detail.
Okay, I'm going to get this out of the way just right off the jump here, okay? Because I'm going to say some things later that might get me in trouble, but this movie was absolutely rad, okay? I enjoyed it a ton. I had a great time. But it's not like, you know, it's not like a great movie in the sense of like it's something that's going to stick with you, or there was nothing particularly meaningful or touching or anything. It was just an awesome movie, right? Everything when they're in the air is incredible. Tom Cruise is great, obviously. Miles Teller, the titular Goose to the Deuce, incredible. So yeah, I mean, those are my overarching, just sort of like general thoughts of the movie. So regardless of what I say throughout this review or recap or whatever we want to call it, the movie's rad. I loved it. Okay, so
Yeah, I mean that we kind of share the same opinion in that. Yes, this movie was fun. This movie was a blast. It is a movie that you go to the movies to see. You enjoy seeing this on a big screen and living those dogfight sequences and every scene that they're in a plane is just edge of your seat, good time, fun. The cinematography, the way it was filmed, the use of practical effects and practical flying, and having the actors in the machines themselves works in this film's favor to an incredible degree. That being said, it's not a story dense, think piece that you're going, like you said, you're going to enjoy this while you're watching it, and then you're just going to go about your day. And you're not
yeah,
going to sit and dwell on the themes and motifs in Top Gun 2, Maverick, Goose 2, the Deuce, but you're going to have a hell of a time while you're watching it.
absolutely. And I think that's totally okay, by the way. I don't think that we should look at that and be like, that's a demerit for the movie, right? The movie is designed to be a blast, and the movie is a blast. So I think it succeeds in that way.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Tom Cruise is back as Maverick 30 years later, and, he looks like he's in his 20s at the age of, 75, however old Tom Cruise is. He looks great. He's
Looks incredible.
and he play I think the biggest takeaway from this movie for me that I had was, even though it's called Top Gun Maverick, we got a lot of Maverick. Probably a lot more Maverick than I expected us to get in the movie.
Yeah.
The way it was marketed, I thought it was going to be like a passing of the torch. Like, we're going to get Maverick. We're going to see Maverick be a badass, but we're also going to let these younger guys shine a little bit. And that wasn't the case, which disappointed me a little bit. But, Maverick, he's super cool. He's the coolest dude ever. And you told me this before we started filming. He just dunks on everyone the entire
It's
movie.
just, yeah, I don't know what the runtime of the movie was, but it's basically 2 hours of Maverick dunking on everyone. He dunks on all the recruits. He dunks on what's his face, Kane. I think that was the name of the character, Kane.
That's Ed Harris, his
Ed
character.
Harris, yep, dunks
Yeah.
on him to start the movie. Dunks on all the recruits. Dunks on John Hamm. Dunks on the unnamed enemies. Do we ever hear who those enemies are? Are they from a particular
No.
region? Yeah, they're
I
just
think they left it
anonymous, sort of,
ambiguous.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally ambiguous enemies. Dunks on them repeatedly. Um, there is no passing of the torch in this movie.
No, he's
There
got
is
that torch.
Maverick flexing on everybody the whole time.
which is kind of like, it's cool. Again, it's super cool.
It's very cool.
It's very cool, and I don't hate that it happened, but I just loved the younger cast so much, and I got really excited to see them in this movie. Like, I love Glenn Powell. I really wanted to see more of Glenn Powell and more of Miles Teller. I feel like if I had one complaint, that would probably be it. It would be I wanted more Miles Teller, because he was really good. Like, he was really, really good as Rooster, as the titular Goose 2, the Deuce. And yeah, we see how the death of Goose affects Maverick, but we really hear how the death of Goose affects Rooster more than we actually see it.
Well, and actually, I think we don't actually even see that much of how the death affects Rooster. More so, what we see is how Maverick's sort of intervention in Rooster's life, you know, pulling his papers and whatnot, how much that affects him. It seems like that is the bigger gripe. There's only really one reference to Rooster and Goose's death, which was a moment that was in the trailer, you know, where he says, "My dad trusted you. I won't make the same mistake." Other than that, like, we don't really get into it from his perspective at all.
Yeah, and they share brief moments outside of the second climax of the movie, which we'll get into later. But I feel like that's what was missing. I feel like if we had more of that sprinkled throughout the movie, like, maybe we see a little bit more of, because it's very clear that Maverick was a part of his life growing up, and you know, he has pictures of him in Little League, and he has pictures of him, you know, as a kid and as a young adult. So if we got a little bit of that, you know, animosity and like familial relationships sprinkled throughout, I think it would make the big moments at the end have that much more meaning, you know, and feel that much more fulfilling. But that was my biggest complaint fresh out of the theater. I really wanted more Rooster in this movie.
Yeah, same. And I mean, we had some other good pilots in there too. Phoenix, Bob, Hangman, what's it, Fanboy. I think these were all, I mean, Coyote. Other than Coyote, I think, you know, basically we flesh out Hangman a tiny bit, we flesh out Phoenix a little bit, Bob a little bit. Other than that, the rest of them are kind of just accessories in this movie. I thought they were all pretty good. Kind of to our initial point, I do wish this would have been a little bit more of handing off the torch, because I would have liked to see more of all of them, I think, and their dynamic. We kind of get the football scene, the Point Break football scene that we get, you know, because they couldn't do beach volleyball again, and they've done that before.
No, you couldn't. You got to up it.
Yeah. That's like the only time we actually see like the whole group kind of interacting or like being a team. But again, I guess, you know, they've got their own little mini teams going on. You know, Phoenix and Bob are a little duo there.
But here's the thing, though, and again, we're just discussing things that we would have liked more. We both really, really liked the movie. We want to stress that we both really enjoyed the movie. This is just a couple of things that we think could have been done better, because essentially the whole premise of the movie is the weight of this, essentially what most people consider a suicide mission, like, and Maverick's trying to show that these people, it like the looming weight of, you need to get good or else you're not coming home. And I think if we knew a little bit more, got to spend a little bit more time with these young pilots and kind of got to understand them as people better, I think that would have a lot more impact on us. Instead, we're really just worried about Rooster. And even then, it's only because of his relation to a character we met in the first movie that we all really loved, as opposed to, you know, like us getting to spend more than that opening bar sequence and then like little snippets here and there with him. So I think if we just got a little bit more time with those younger pilots, it would have made the stress factor of this ticking clock to get them ready for this mission, it would make it that much more intense as we built up to it.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, I guess we're kind of harping on this at this point. Maybe we don't need to talk about it too much more, but some of those like character traits, like we see Hangman in the initial flight sequence, he kind of does some maneuver that's real fancy and cool, but it leaves it hangs his wingman out to dry. Yeah. And then we see in the canyon sequence where he just flies way too fast and his wingman can't keep up. so you have like those two moments where you're like, all right, so this is Hangman's deal. And then neither of those things, like, yeah, he gets left off the team, I guess, but like neither of those things like actually are meaningful in sort of like the grand scheme of the movie. And I feel like, again, if we just had more time with them, we potentially see that story sort of develop and sort of hit a beat that just never came, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I really did like, the use of Iceman, the use of Val Kilmer in this movie.
Yeah.
I thought that his presence loomed heavy over the entire course of the film. I like that they used text messaging to kind of convey his thoughts. That way you didn't have to have Val force himself to speak with everything that he went through since the first movie was made. And I just love that scene he had with Maverick. I thought the use of Val Kilmer in this film was pitch perfect. I don't think they could have done a better job. That was great. I think what this movie, this is obviously a legacy sequel, and I think what this movie does is it does nostalgia right. There's a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people say like there's not a lot of Easter eggs. There is a ton of Easter eggs in this movie. There's a ton of fan service in this movie, but it's fan service that propels the story forward instead of holding the story back and making you stop and go, oh, hey, I remember that. Like, everything they put in this movie that's a reference to the first movie is used to move this story forward, which is really all you could really ask for in a movie that is a sequel to a movie as iconic as Top Gun.
Yeah. I will say some things that other than just like broad strokes, dogfight action sequences that I liked about this movie. They kind of go anti-trope at certain points. So there's a moment, you and I had talked about this earlier too, where after Maverick and Rooster have both been shot down, they reunite, and now all of a sudden we see that they're formulating this plan of they're going to steal an F-14 fighter jet. They have to escape from a runway that they just blew up. So you're like, oh wow, what's going to happen here? And my initial thought was like, okay, this is like a whole act of most movies. Like, this would be the second act of almost any other movie that exists. This whole process of getting onto the base, you're probably going to have to, sneak by a couple people, maybe, steal some disguises or, steal some outfits or something. And then you're probably going to run into a little trouble when you're trying to fly away. But they're just like, no, we don't have time for that. We're telling you they got onto the base and they flew away. Like, that's all that's important. That's all you need to know, because the faster we do that, the faster we're back in the air. Okay. And I appreciate that, right? Like, that's a movie we've seen 100 times. We've seen people get trapped in some, weird circumstance that they have to get through. So I thought that was fun. There was the dogfight once they're in the F-14, the dogfight that they have where it seems like he's been set up for Hangman to come basically save them this whole time. So you're just waiting for that to happen. They're out of flares and whatnot. And this is also another instance of Maverick just dunking on everybody, because no, Hangman doesn't show up. He just kills the second fighter all by himself because he's that damn good. Okay. And then they switch it up on you, like, oh, but wait, there's more. Then Hangman gets his moment. So they kind of tease it, and then they it's like a little bit of a roller coaster there, and I thought that was fun.
Yeah, and what's because listen, I don't think that they should have had that second climax. I think the climax should have ended with Maverick's kind of sacrifice, and then you could have had like a montage of them finding Maverick and that kind of emotional beat. But the problem is the chemistry between Miles Teller and Tom Cruise was so goddamn good. Mm-hmm. Like it's such it was so, because I literally, me and my girlfriend, we watched Top Gun. I literally got up and we went to the theater and we watched Top Gun Maverick. Their chemistry is so nearly identical to the chemistry between Tom Cruise and Anthony Edwards as Goose. I really loved that part of the movie, even though I think it's a little too much. I wanted to see them interact that way, because it was a very fun and enjoyable interaction for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this movie kind of deals with. This movie is, if anything, this movie is a character study. It's a character study of Pete, Maverick, Mitchell, And we get a lot of talk of his over 30-year career in the Navy, and how he loves flying. And essentially, he continued to be a Maverick for his entire career, being bailed out only by his relationship with Iceman. And I thought that was interesting. You know, I thought it was interesting, kind of. But this is a problem with a movie like this. We hear a lot of things. We hear a lot of it instead of seeing it. And we basically see a Maverick who thinks he may be at the end of his time in the air, and he's kind of looking to maybe to put down roots, possibly. Yeah. You know, so it's a very different Maverick than we. It's Maverick to a point, but it's kind of Maverick also saying, like, it's an older Maverick kind of questioning his decisions in life and questioning if he did things the right way. And those parts of the movie I liked. I liked most of this movie. Like 99.9% of this movie I really enjoyed sitting through. But I did like seeing that it's kind of essentially like, you know, this old cowboy just looking back on his life and wondering if he made all the right choices, and just trying to keep living the good fighting the good fight and living a good life. And I really like that.
Yeah, there is another thing I want to mention when I was talking about the sort of like anti-tropes that this movie does. There is we need two miracles in order to accomplish it. Bomb number one has to go Star Wars style into the exhaust port, and then miracle two, we have to shoot a second bomb straight down the pipe of that one in order to blow it up. So that's another thing where they just ace it. Like, there is no like complications involved. Like for like 1 millisecond, they're like, there's something wrong with the laser. I can't get the laser to work. And he's like, don't worry about it. I got it. And, he just absolutely aces it. That's another thing where in any other movie, it's like something happens on the way, or one of the missiles misses and they have to somehow regroup. They're going to be involved in some altercation. They have to figure out a new way to make this happen. Where in this movie, they're like, look, that's not what you're here for. So, like, we're going to just ace these shots. Miracle one, miracle two, done. Now, on to the SAM, the anti-aircraft defense and the dogfights. Let's get into it. Missiles, that's what you're here for. So let's do it.
I love that, and I love that because it doesn't make Rooster look bad to make Maverick look good. Like, Rooster has his little stutter step, and that's all that goes wrong. Like, he has that little moment where he's like, "Talk to me, Dad," and then of course, as soon as he says that, Maverick comes on his radio and he's like, "You got this." And it's like, he's your dad too. We're both your dads. And he just like hops right back into it, and it shows, because up until that point I'm like, is Rooster really that good of, like, is he better than Hangman?
Yeah, right. They basically play him up as being sort of like almost unqualified to be there. Like, sure, we know he's one of the best because he got invited, but everybody there seems to just not have the same issues that he does. He flies slow, he flies timid, he doesn't take a shot. Like, so we're like, so what is exactly his value here? Because we haven't seen it yet in this movie.
And I like that, because as soon as he hits that, as soon as he pulls back on that lever and he hits that speed, you just see how good he is. You see how good and he's like, oh yeah, he is the best. He is.
Right. I will say that is a weird thing about the movie, which is when they're selecting the team, I can understand why they didn't select Hangman, because he is not a good team player. They never make it clear why you would select Rooster.
Yeah, which is a problem I had.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, not that I again, there was no deeper meaning to this movie for me, so I don't actually care that much, but it is something, I guess, worth noting that it kind of didn't make sense given what we saw on screen for Rooster to be on the final team.
One thing I just thought of, in the theater when Tom Cruise was fighting running from that helicopter, part of me thought that he was going to take out the helicopter by himself. Like, part of me was like, is Tom Cruise really about to throw a stick of gum at this helicopter and blow it up?
So I thought they had teased the Hangman thing so much that I thought for sure that was the moment Hangman was going to show up and knock it out. But then it was Rooster, and I was like, okay, Now Hangman's going to show up. And then
Yeah.
it wasn't again. And then finally, the third time. Rule of threes, I guess, Third time's a charm. Hangman finally shows up.
Hangman finally, we were just waiting for Hangman. We were just, he left us hanging.
He left us hanging, dude. Classic Hangman.
That Hangman, dude. Always leaving us hanging.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, again, it's a really good time at the movies. It's definitely going to be a movie that I watch again when it comes out. I'm going to watch it probably multiple times. But I just, if there was just a little something more, I think it could have been an all-time, not just legacy sequel, but all-time, like, great, thought-provoking, character-driven film. And I just don't think it hits that mark. But it's still a phenomenal movie.
Yeah, I think as sort of like a theater experience, it's way up there. It's pretty much as good as you can get as a theater experience, right? It's not quite Dune, but it's very good.
Of course. Not quite.
But like as a piece of film history, it's, I don't know, it doesn't mean a whole lot to me, if I'm being honest. Again, it's not an insult to the movie. That's just like, I'm not taking a whole lot from it, but an incredible experience in the theater.
Yeah. So Zach, do you have any more thoughts on Top Gun, Maverick, Goose to the Deuce?
You missed 2. Top Gun 2, Maverick.
Oh, I'm
Goose
sorry. Thank you for correcting me. Top Gun 2, Maverick, Goose to the Deuce.
Yeah, great movie, man. I recommend it. Like, literally, go see it on the biggest screen you can. It's an absolute blast.
Yeah, and I can't wait. It's been 30 years for Top Gun 3, Rooster, 3 Roosters, the
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
Cock-a-doodle-doo, the movie. But Zach, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at hi, my name is Zack M. Be sure to retweet the Mexican Pizza Challenge for brain cancer awareness.
Yes, guys, we're doing a fundraiser over the weekend for brain cancer awareness. It is the hashtag Mexican Pizza Challenge. So, if you like Mexican pizzas and you hate the dangerous disease known as cancer, go on Twitter and post a picture of yourself eating a Mexican pizza with the hashtag Mexican Pizza Challenge, and we will donate money to the Glioblastoma Research Organization in honor of brain cancer research. And you guys can find me on the Montyverse, on the socials, at the Montyverse, everywhere. And you can find us both here. We be doing reactions and stuff. Anything else, Zach?
That's all from me.
All right. Until next time, guys. Stay versed.